Yo, Murdoch, what's up, man? What's up, man? Let's see, okay. I think we're good. I'm trying to find that song you recommended me. Let's see. Did we listen to this before, Murdoch? We might have listened to it, I think. Mehaps. Let's see. Holy shit, you can listen to this for 10 hours. Might be a bit drunkish. I feel like I should brand myself as like a YouTuber or a streamer that just like, come to me if you're drunk. Actually, I did get a beer myself. I got an apple cider, so I'm not gonna get drunk, but I'm gonna, you know, chill. What up, guys? Emmeline, Elevator Hell, how you guys doing? Murdoch is drunk tonight. He's holding the ball. The drunk ball. There's always one person who's very hammered on my streams. Alright. So I want to listen to this song, Murdoch, but I also don't want my video to get banned. Let me preview it. Let's see. Oh, this song? This song is how old now? Oh my god, dude, this video is gonna get fucking banhammered in this stream's gonna get banhammered, dude, if I play that song. That's a very popular song. I don't know if I can play that. I mean, I could, but I don't want this shit to get. I don't want the ban hammer. You know what I'm saying? The corporate overlords. Joker spoiler time. Don't know if tonight's the night. I mean, I guess we might be able to, but Donnie usually has good theories. He was saying, and I know Malayo Gamer hasn't seen it yet, but he's not here yet. Because we could just like chill, listen to some music. There is I do want to finish the libertarian debate we were listening to yesterday. I want to finish that at some point. There's only like 20 minutes left. Are you guys tired of the libertarian stuff? I'm very curious. I'm asking the free market what they think. What's this? Because if you guys are getting tired of the libertarian stuff, please feel free to speak up. I wouldn't want to continue to play it. I play it only for its entertainment value and for like research. That's the only reason I play it. For research, for that Sam Cedar episode I want to do, and just because I think it's fucking hilarious. So that like they all sound the same. Okay, Emily's enjoying it. Elevator Hell is in mind. Murdoch might be getting a little tired of it. Considering he recommended a 20-year-old song, but I don't mind going back and forth with tunes and you know, debates and stuff like that. Let me get set up here. Let me get set up. We don't have too many commissions to finish. I am tempted because she did give me not orders, but she told me to pretty much recreate everything and put all these characters in layers. Like, I don't want to just trace over everything, but it seems like she wants me to do that. She just wants me to put everything in layers. Cause I'm very tempted to like put my own style into it. But I guess for now, I mean, considering what I asked for payment wouldn't really take that into consideration. It's just like my fucking brain can't go to that place where I'm like, this could be better, but then I think like, hold on, she's paying you for this. If she wants to pay you for that, then like, then we'll talk. You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm just gonna trace over what the best way I can, and finish this up. Cheers to you guys. It's not a beer, but it's an apple cider, so still alcohol in it, but yeah, change it up. That's so good. That's so good. All right, let's see. The pictures are for a friend of mine. Asked me to do some work for her. She pretty much wants me to redraw her characters, because whoever did this is just like, it's just like one layer. It's just like one big drawing. Like, it's not split up into layers like I usually do, like arms, legs, you know, face, body, all that stuff. So she wants it spread out like that, so she can like work on it. So she's paying me for that. That is why we are not working on CO No right now, because commission work comes first. But I should be wrapping this up like hopefully today, if not tomorrow. Let me see, Ghetto. Okay, I think we're on Ghetto Bong right now. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do these quick and just trace over this stuff, because that's pretty much what she wants. She just wants these like redrawn. So I think we'll do that. She doesn't do 2D animation. She has this is pretty much her, not her baby, but like her little side hustle. She does this thing called Doobie and Friends, where it's just like manifestations of like drugs and, you know, bongs, and the main character is Doobie. It's a joint. And she does like stories and stuff. She sells merch. She actually walks around in like a Doobie outfit, marketing her fucking little thing, which is kind of funny. It's just like a giant joint just running around, just like, you know, pointing at everyone. It's really funny. And she was talking to me. She's like, "Oh, I know you do 2D animation. I've been very interested in, you know, doing that with Doobie." And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'll organize these characters, get them ready for animation, and then I'll help you with the animations if you want." She wants to do like little skits and stuff, and obviously I've been doing this for a couple years now on my own, so I'm happy to help her out with that. So anything to just make me animate is great. She has a YouTube. I don't think she has a channel. She has an Instagram. Let me see. Instagram is Doobie and Friends. It's like a comic series, so it's Doobie and Friends on Instagram. I don't know if she has a YouTube. I don't think she does. I think she would have told me that. But yeah, she sells like merch and stuff, like shirts, and this is her in her, or I think that's her husband in the Doobie costume. It's kind of fucking funny. She just goes to like conventions dressed up like that. kind of funny. And she does these drawings and stuff, so I am all down for animating it. She does like little comics and stuff, but she wants to do more of these. So yeah, it's pretty much someone's hugging her. So it's cool. It's a little thing. She clearly doesn't understand how long. No, what do you mean? She's pretty much. She's not telling me to animate anything. We're not there yet. We're still at the phase where, she wants me to like, get these models like just organized. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, if she offered for me to, or she gave me an offer to like, oh, do like a 1 minute animated sketch. Like obviously, she would pay me for it. She wants to, compensate me for work. So I would give her a price, and then I'd be like, okay, this is the timeline. So yeah, we haven't, there's no disrespect at all. She understands that takes a long time. Murdoch's a drunk one tonight. So if Millennial Gamer's not here, let's talk about Joker spoilers. And Donald's here. Do you guys want to do that? All right, I changed the title. Let's talk about Joker spoilers before Millennial Gamer gets in here. Let's talk about Joker. All right, let's talk about Joker before Millennial Gamer gets here. Okay, so oh my god, I have to like remember the movie. I saw it twice. Fucking loved it. This movie shouldn't have worked. This movie should not have worked as well as it did, because the first thing that comes to mind is like, with some movies, and leave me your theories in the chat room while I talk. I want to get my thoughts, and I'll get your guys' thoughts. Normally when movies like leave everything very ambiguous, like very like unknown and clear, like I kind of hate that. Like as the audience member, I kind of want to be told like, I kind of want to be told like what's going on. You're a writer. You're gonna tell me a story. If you're gonna leave it open, like I think that's a weird thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think here, given the context of the character that we're talking about here, like it's genius. It's fucking genius, because like I guess the movie wants us to. The movie made a point, a specific point that like certain things are not actually happening. There are certain things in this movie that are not happening. It's only happening in Arthur's mind, and I don't know if that's intentional for us to believe just that, or us to believe more. Oh my god, Millennial Gamer's here. Millennial Gamer, we're talking Joker spoilers, so mute me for like a couple minutes, or I'll tweet you when we're done. Either or, because we've been holding off on this forever. I just got into like Joker spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled for Joker, and I highly recommend that you don't get spoiled for it, just mute, or like I'll message you when we're done. All right? We were trying to do this before you got in the chat, but you're MVP, so you're usually here. Oh my god, where's my mouse? So we're gonna talk about Joker spoilers. 3, 2, 1, continue. What was I saying? So, does the movie want us to like only look at these certain points in Arthur's life that are not really happening, or does the movie want us to think more broadly into like, oh, this might not be happening, this might not be happening? Because like there's a scene in the very beginning where he's being interviewed by the what's it called, his therapist, I think. Oh, you don't care? Okay, Mother Gamer. There's a certain scene in the beginning where he's talking to his therapist, and then like he flashes to like a mental institution where he's just like slamming his head. Like, was that a flash of the future, or was that a flash of the past? Like, I caught that the second time. So I don't know because it obviously it looked like the same place that he's in at the end. At the end, he's in the mental institution. So that was a weird thing. Are you telling me that like everything we're watching hasn't happened or has happened or I don't know what? Like, my big theory is like, I've multiple theories. I have to think about this because it's been a while since I've seen the movie. But at the very end, when he's asked like, he's thinking about a joke. He's thinking about Bruce Wayne's parents and how they were killed. Like, he's like, oh, you wouldn't get it. Like, he's like, what's so funny? You wouldn't get it. Like, is he saying that because Batman already exists in this world? Where, like, the joke is, like, you know, he created Batman in a way? Or is he doing that because it's weird because, like, when he's thinking about that, he didn't see it. So how could you be thinking about that specific moment and that specific person that was affected by your chaos? So that was a little weird to me. And I was like, why is he thinking about Bruce? Unless he already knows Bruce. You know? Like, unless he knows Batman. Unless he knows Batman. And the thing, even if Batman exists in this world and he's like in, you know, he's already been the Joker and whatever, like, he would have to know his identity. He would have to know a lot more about him. So I thought that was a very interesting way that they addressed that. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. Like, maybe he's thinking about the people that he's affected. Like, it's weird. I don't know. Unless he heard it on the news or something like that. Like, it's left very open and left very multiple choicey because that's the Joker. The Joker's life is multiple choice. Do I think Bruce and Arthur are brothers? I don't think so because the papers made it seem like she's the crazy one. I kind of like that angle, like, of that. I don't think they are brothers. I was interested, like, oh, are we going down this path? Are we going down this weird rabbit hole? But like, no, it's like, in the papers, she was deemed crazy and a little obsessive. She was I kind of love the fact, like, I hope they aren't brothers because, like, the dynamic of, like, him and his mother, like, the mother was obsessed with Thomas Wayne, where she kind of said she loved him and that they were in love. And the Joker is kind of obsessed with Batman, with the son, and is not in love with him. But is like kind of obsessed with Batman, you know? Alright, I mean, like, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Enjoy your movie. So it's like, you know, there's a lot of jokes with like Joker and Batman where like they kind of need each other. They're like, you know, the yin to the yang, you know? So I kind of thought about that. I'm like, the mother is obsessed with the father, and the son will soon be obsessed with the son and what he becomes. So I kind of love that aspect of it. And the ending is left kind of like, did the late night shooting actually happen at the late night show? Did that actually happen? Because I can kind of believe it to a certain point where, like, at the very end, he's like, you know, caused so much chaos, and all these people are like worshiping him. But they don't show him in the mental institution. They don't show how he got caught. So how did he end from like the top of the world where all these people are praising him to like in a mental institution? Like maybe they caught him or something. It's left very open. It's left very like, is he in this? Is the whole movie him in the mental institutions thinking about this? And he has like, is everything we watched like, did that never happen? Is this like who he's trying to be? He's like thinking to be this person, or has he already become this person? It's really interesting. Like and it's perfect because like I said before, like I said in the beginning, like the idea of multiple choice. That's the Joker. There's a great quote in Killing Joke. Like, I don't really know what my past is, but I prefer to be multiple choice. the origin story is very mysterious. That's why we never see this origin story. We see origins for like Penguin and Mr. Freeze with the wife and all that crap, but we don't see it with Joker because he's a mysterious character, even to him, and even to the audience. Like as the audience, like we're like, oh, which is his origin? It could be this, it could be that, it could be that. It's left very like up in the air. So I called all this a second time. Like the first time I'm like, oh, this is a great movie, but then the second time I'm like, oh, what we just watched might not have never happened. Like he could be in the mental institution thinking about all this, and then as he's thinking about it, he like becomes this monster that he's like trying to replicate. So who knows? Like I don't know. That's kind of my theory. Did I have any other theories? Yeah, I don't know if the late night show scene was very weird. Like, he kind of admitted he committed murder on TV, and like Murray he just continued to have a conversation with him, whereas like not once was he like, police, all right, police, we need the police. Like that was a little weird to me. So it was too casual. It was way too casual. Even though the guy was like, you know, cut it. But like there was no cops, like there was no call for 911, like even though he was obviously caught later on, but like it was no immediacy, you know? So that kind of led me to believe like, oh, maybe this isn't happening. You know? I don't know. Because it seemed very fantastical? Fantasical? No, that's not the word. It seemed very fantasized, like from the late night show to when he was captured to like at the very end where he's like smiling with the blood. Like I love the thing with the blood, like oof, that was a great moment. That was a fantastic moment from a man that just wanted like a man that just wanted to be recognized. Like all he wanted was attention and to be admired, and he had to for him to go down this place just so he could feel like appreciated. Like it was crazy. And that's the thing. Yeah, good point, Donald. Like it was they portrayed they left a great political message without being political. I think like it wasn't like hammered down. Like it was like, you know, kill the rich and kind of things like that. But it makes sense in the context of the world. Like Gotham is like a shithole. Like, and then, you know, you see like, and even like the scene where he goes to see Thomas Wayne in the theater. Like he's dressed up as this like not butler, like teller. I don't know what you call the movie guy. He had like the hat on. He just kind of walked in and no one noticed him. Like he just like walked in and out. Like I don't think anyone really saw like even went to like look at him or like, whoa, what's going on here? Not even the security guy at the door. So was that imagined? Like was the whole like Bruce Wayne thing imagined? Like I don't know. Because you see like him in the Comedy Center. And I saw a lot of theory videos about this movie. So at the comedy show where he's first like taking notes on like how to be a comedian, like when he's laughing very inappropriately, no one is like looking around. No one's being like, what's up with this guy? Like everyone's just like kind of focused over here and he's here and he's like laughing like, you know, not in sync with the audience. Like he's not getting the joke. Like I don't know if that's really happening. Like maybe we're seeing it in his mind. Like this is how he's seeing it. And it's very much not in like sync with like what's actually happening in the world. So that was a good point in the theory video I saw. Like no one's laughing. Like this could have been all in his head. So Usher, yeah, that's the thing. Usher, that's the word. So was that happening? Like obviously the thing with the girl was very well played. Like this movie, like I think everything was done even the marketing was well done. Like the marketing was portrayed as like, or the marketing showed us like, okay, this guy is going to become this monster. And, you know, he has a mom, you know, he's getting along so good with his mom, you know, he's dancing with her. And then like he's going on dates with the girl. So you're thinking in your head automatically, like, obviously this is a Joker movie. So something very bad is going to happen to the mom, and something very bad is going to happen to the woman. But what happened to them? You know, like he caused, you know, one was in his head and the other he caused. Like, it was so well done. Like this is how you do a trailer. Like that first Joker trailer is perfect. It's perfect. It's a perfect marketing trailer for a movie. Like you averted our expectations. We all thought like something bad's gonna happen to mom, something bad's gonna happen to the woman. But like it like just it was the opposite. It was like completely reversed. Like it was great. So I more movies need to do that. They need to portray it in a certain way, and then when the movie comes out, like, this is what actually happened. Like, we didn't spoil anything. If anything, we subverted your expectations, and we made you think a different way, whereas we did it another way. Like, we pulled you over here, but we're going to bring you over here. Like, it was really well done. So even the trailer, the marketing was all good. Joaquin Phoenix, like, he deserves a fucking Oscar. Like, I don't see a lot of, like, now, they think December's, like, you know, Oscar season for movies, or like all the serious movies that come out, but like he was fantastic. Fantastic. It was like straight 2 hours of just seeing Joaquin Phoenix like just lose his fucking mind. It was so good, like to a point where like he's laughing in the beginning, like, and it's kind of causing him pain, but as the movie progresses, he uses the laughter to his advantage. Like he's learning to use his mental illness to his advantage, where he's just like laughing about like, you know, murdering someone or whatever, instead of like laughing and then coughing and being, oh, I'm so sorry, but he's like, and then he's like just like using it to like his advantage, like to portray himself in a different light. So I thought it was fantastic, and the fact that even the laugh is part of his disease. Like, that was unique. Like, that actually got spoiled for me before I saw the movie, and I wish it didn't. When he gave the card, he's like, oh, this is, you know, I have a condition. Please give me back my card. I have uncontrollable laughter. Like, that's really good. That was really well done. I did not expect that. So, I don't know what else to say about this movie. The whole media hype around this is dangerous movie, dude. The only reason the media wanted someone to commit violence for this movie, like, incels are gonna like fucking cause shootings at theaters. Like, no, never happened. Did we ever get like an apology or retraction from the media? No. The media wanted someone to commit something due to this movie. They wanted something bad to happen. This movie does not portray him in a positive light. He's obviously a monster. Obviously. Like, no one needs to, like... I don't feel... At the end of the movie, I wasn't like, oh, but he's really such a nice boy. Like, maybe in the beginning I felt that way. Where he was like, you don't want to see this guy resort to madness. And he's kind of, like, going back and forth. But eventually takes the wrong path. I'm like, yep, he's gone. Oh. The scene with the two friends where he kills one of the friends is like peak Joker moment. That was like the best Joker moment of the whole movie. So where he's locking the door when they come in, you have a midget and you have a big guy. So he kills the big guy, and then the midget tries to get away and he can't get out because the door is locked. So my thinking is, he knew he was going to kill the big guy. Or he was going to kill someone or defend himself or whatever. But when he saw the big guy and the little guy, he wanted to kill the big dude because he did him dirty. He wasn't going to kill the little guy because he didn't do him dirty. So did he do that to set up a joke? Like, unintentionally or intentionally? I don't know. it was so funny. That's the Joker, dude. Like unintentionally, intentionally, he makes murder funny. That scene was funny. Like it was so well done. And I thought he was gonna kill the little guy, but he made a case where like, you know, he wasn't going to, like, and it makes sense. So at the end of the movie, Joker's like he's not like a mass murderer. He's kind of like, oh, if you deserve, you get what you deserve, you know. So if they were ever do a sequel to this, like, I guess he would transition to like, oh, you get what you deserve, versus like, oh, I'm just gonna kill whoever I want. Like, because the Joker doesn't really have ideals. Like, he's just like, he just wants to cause chaos for the fact of chaos. Like, he's not gonna like. I guess he still has like a level of respect for some people, like the little guy, because he has respect for Batman. He doesn't want to kill Batman because otherwise it won't be fun for him anymore. So he still has like that level of respect. I don't know if that goes hand in hand with like his respect for people that haven't done him wrong versus like Batman. Like maybe there's like still a little bit of Arthur in there, and Joker hasn't completely taken over. You know, so yeah, the little guy was the only one nice to him. Yeah, that's a good point. He was the only one that's nice to him. Or the only one where he had like a decent conversation. Like his boss was a shithole, a shithead to him. Like, you know, the big guy was a shithead to him. Yeah, that's kind of true. Even Murray, his idol, was like laughing at him. So, I guess it wasn't like as broad as I thought. Like, do you think he killed the black girl and her daughter? I don't think he killed her, but the cops were looking for him. So it was scary and tense with the midget. Like, I thought he was gonna kill him. I thought he was really gonna kill him, but then like I kind of forgot in the beginning. We're like, oh, you know, he was nice to him. And he's like, oh, you're the only one that's nice to me. I'm like, oh shit. Does that mean there's still like some Arthur left? There's there's like a speck of humanity left? Like, I don't know. But that scene was fucking amazing. That was one of the best scenes in the movie for me. That was a great Joker moment. That was a Joker moment. They got you if watching that tells me that you understand the character. So it was very well done. Very well done. I don't know what else more to say. I think I said my piece. I don't think he killed it. But this is like at a point where yeah, I think he's just portraying himself like this because like she did that to him, where she wanted to kill herself because like the kid, and like I think Arthur was in the moment where like I want to kill myself too. So I don't think he killed her. I think Tal Phillips confirmed that he didn't kill her too. It's like I might have read something like that, or he didn't kill like a certain character, but I think it was in reference to the woman. So yeah, this movie's great. Like even with him going in the fridge, he just needs to cool off. Like, is that part of like a mental illness that he has, or like, you know, a mental illness out there that he's like researched? Like, you know, sometimes you just get so flustered. You just want to go in the fridge and cool down, because he was going through some bad shit. But I read that was improv. That was on the script, apparently. Phoenix just like decided like, oh, I'm just going to pull this shit out in the fridge. I'm just going to go in it. So it's a good moment. It's a really good moment. Well, yeah, when he walked in the apartment, yeah, that was a revelation. That was like, oh, she doesn't know who he is. That was a good revelation. That was a good reveal. Because this whole time you think like he has someone behind her. So let me read what you guys are saying, because I think I pretty much said my piece about the movie. Let me see. Alright, so Don, you have two theories. It was all in his head and he was in Arkham the whole time, but that's boring. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And two, this isn't the actual Joker, but a Gotham legend that later inspired Batman's actual Joker. So the thing with that is like, So if we're led to believe that, like, at the end of this movie, everything actually happened, and we're in a timeline where he's become Joker, he's in the mental institution, and he and Batman is still a kid, like, so he's like what? He's like 10? No, he's like 8 or 7 or something like that. If that's the case, Batman's what, like in his... He'd be Batman what, in his like 40s? Maybe? That's like, you know, more or less like 30 years. Like, Joker would be old as fuck. I don't think we're giving a clue as to how old Joaquin Phoenix is, but he'd be a pretty old fucking Joker. I don't know if that was maybe that was intentional. Maybe they want us to believe that he's like not the real one, but the inspiration. Or maybe we're led to believe that, like, yeah, this is like a 30-year-old dude. But Joaquin Phoenix is older. Phoenix is playing a younger character. Phoenix just looks older than the character he's trying to play. That could be the case too, but I don't know. They intentionally wanted Bruce to be a little boy. So I think it's... I don't know. I think it could be that he's an older actor playing a younger character. Possibly. The final part of the Joker movie didn't happen. Evidence. Arthur confidence. Arthur talks to Arthur escapes. Didn't happen. Evidence. Wait, so how would that prove that the final part of the movie didn't happen? Where he is confident, yeah. Arthur can talk straight, and he escapes. How would that? How is that evidence? Oh, the movie didn't happen. I would say that's more evidence of the movie actually happening, because he's in this state where he's just like, I created chaos. I'm happy. People love me. You know? Or maybe I'm misinterpreting your point, but when I show Bruce Wayne, like, yeah, when he showed Bruce Wayne and said you wouldn't get it, that was a great line. That was a great fucking line. I feel like I would have loved the movie to end right there. Like, I get you have to show, like, you know, you killed this woman and you're escaping. It's all wacky. But I would have liked the cut right there. Like, you wouldn't get it. You cut. But I like that there wasn't talking afterwards. That was like the last line in the movie, I think. Where like these two men are created on the same day. One created the other, essentially. Or no, yeah, one created the other because the rich were like, he felt very distraught by like Thomas Wayne and the people and power and everything. One created the other, pretty much. So that's really it's really interesting. Let me see. Arthur has a picture of his mom and said, "You have a nice smile." TW. That's true. Arthur had a picture of his mom and it said you had a nice smile. That is interesting. And he did tear that up. Maybe he didn't write that. Maybe the mom wrote that. Like, she's crazy. So who knows? It's multiple choice. It could be either or. It could be she wrote it or he actually wrote it. Like, but we don't know because he ripped it up. He's just like, I don't fucking care if this is true or not. Like, it's crazy, man. It's really multiple choice. Everything's multiple choice in this movie. It's perfect. It's fucking perfect. Yeah, so you think Donald thinks this is not the real Joker. The drunk driver joke on the show. Oh, yeah, the comedian thing. Where he's like, "Mom, I'm going to be a comedian." Is that the joke you're talking about? Yeah, him killing the Wall Street guys was very intense. I didn't expect that to happen so soon with the gun and him killing those dudes. That was a very intense scene where, like, it kind of reiterates his point where, like, these 3 Wall Street guys are dead and everyone's flipping out. But, like, you know, if Arthur or, like, someone from the, you know, lower class were to die, like, you wouldn't give a shit. You know? Eat the rich. The show was real, but probably played out differently. Zero very loud. Yeah, at that point it seemed like he controlled his laughter at that point. Like, the laughter wasn't controlling him; he was controlling the laughter. Sean Maria, the continue. Yeah, exactly. Where, like, the joke could be elevator hell with the joke could be okay, so I have no father now, and now you, like, unless he's still led to believe, like, this is really my father. And I don't think he is. Like, the fact that he killed his mom, I believe he, like, got rid of that idea. But, like, maybe the joke is like, oh, I thought this man was my father. Now you've lost your father. I killed your actual father. Or I caused the chaos where your actual father died. Like, maybe that's the joke. Like, there's so many interpretations to it. I love it. Let me see. I lost my place. Yeah, the midget. I thought he was dead too. Like, that shit was amazing. Yo, Suffocating, what's up, man? Don't spoil Joker movie, dude. I think we're done talking about it, but, like, we're still, like, at the end tail of talking about it. we had to kick Sofa King. I hate having people to, like, leave the chat because, like, we're talking about a movie, but yeah, we're pretty much wrapping up. Yeah, he's I guess this is an origin, right? I mean, so he's not gonna be perfectly calculated, like, right away. Like, we literally saw the Joker, or, like, what we interpret to be the Joker, for, like, the last 30 minutes of the movie. So, you know, he hasn't, like, you know, made a name for himself. Like, I compare this movie to, like, Batman Begins. Like, this is, like, you might as well have just called this movie Joker Begins. Like, those two movies are a great watch side by side, I feel like. The origin of iconic characters, you know? Unquenchable Laughter when he was nervous. Yeah, was it more so, like, it was more so in the beginning, though, right? At the end, like, he just kind of had, like, he just kind of laughed, like, you know, whenever he wanted to. But he didn't really, you know, toward the end, he didn't laugh too. He was kind of more serious, you know? When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Okay. I think that's pretty much wrapping up the movie, but it was fantastic. Do we want a sequel? I want a sequel only if they have a good story to tell. Like, I don't want this to be a cash grab. And I think it's safe because I don't think Phoenix would do a movie. He doesn't seem like a franchise actor. He only wants to do a movie if it's written well. And I think Todd Phillips understands that, because I think they made this movie sort of open, but, like, very, like, viable solo, you know? So if they make a sequel, you know, do it smart, do it the right way. Like keep up this tone. Like I don't think Todd Phillips is a director to give in to pressure. And Montezuma, what's up? Yeah, I did hear about Cenk running for Congress. That's pretty awesome. I guess we can get into that after we talk about the movie, but yeah, he's a one-off kind of guy, but like he's been asked in multiple interviews, like, would you do a sequel? And he's been like, he's kind of smirked. He's been like, I can't say. Like, I think they're definitely talking about it, 100% right now. This movie's on track to make $1 billion. Like, it's more profitable than Avengers Endgame. Think about that. This movie is more profitable than Avengers Endgame. It didn't make more money than Avengers. Avengers is still number one, but like it's made more money over Avengers, which is crazy. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. Joker was a great movie. I've seen it twice already in theaters. I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out. I'll see it multiple more times, like with like the commentary. I would love to watch this movie with commentary from the director and Phoenix. Like, I would love that. So great movie. I think this is where DC needs to go. They need to do one-offs and just like go from there. Like, just do a story, make it a good story, but don't like interlace like a universe or anything. Just tell a good story, because DC is very dark. Like, you have so much material from like the animated series, the animated shows, all the animated stuff from DC is fantastic. The live action stuff for Marvel is good, but the animated stuff for Marvel is not that good. Like, it's like the yin to the yang for like Marvel and DC. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, fucking fantastic movie. Make more of it. Like, give me a sequel if it makes sense. Like, that'll be the last word for that. So we'll see. We'll see if this is the real Joker. I think this will be the real Joker. I really do. I don't think they want anyone else portraying Phoenix or the Joker than Phoenix. I was gonna say one thing. In terms of, I don't even want them talking about interacting or interlacing like Robert Pattinson's Batman with like this Joker. I don't even want them talking about that. Like, I don't know. Like, Batman is going to Arkham for his movie, for the Robert Pattinson one. So, I mean, Joker is in Arkham, so it might make sense, but we'll have to see how they work with that. He might be in that movie, so we'll see. But I think, all right, that'll be the end of spoilers. Let me change the info, and then I'll change it when this goes up on YouTube. I'll change it. We talk about spoilers. Yeah, DC rushed way too fast with their universe. Like, that was their biggest mistake. They rushed it, man. They fucking rushed it. They should have told stories, like individual stories, and then just worry about the universe later. But they're like, no, we need our, like, a movie called Batman versus Superman is terrible. That is a terrible movie. Like, a Batman versus Superman movie should be fucking like praised at the second coming of Christ. But instead it's just like, ugh, that movie's like, it's like a groan. It's like, ugh. It was so bad. So bad. Do I think Robert Pattinson would be a good Batman? I think he's a good actor. I haven't seen him, like, I think we need to erase Twilight from our memories, because even he's come out and been like, yeah, Twilight's kind of dumb. But I think he's good age for it. We'll have to see. I think he'll be better than Affleck. Affleck was like a very average Batman. He just seemed like he wasn't given too much material. But I thought even Christian Bale was like okay. Like, he was good in the first movie, but the second movie they didn't really, he wasn't that He was okay. He was okay. He was good. He was good. So I think Robert Pattinson might do well. I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt, dude. Like, I remember when like Heath Ledger was, it was polarizing that he was a Joker. Polarized, like, oh, this pretty boy who's done romantic comedies, he can't do Joker, and then like he nailed it, dude. He nailed it. So I think we need to give these actors the benefit of the doubt before like we jump to conclusions. I'm gonna lift my desk. Oh. All right. So now we had an hour over it. Yeah, a little bit. Christian Bale was a little overrated. I thought the first movie was the highlight, and then the second it was okay. He just seemed kind of whiny. He's like, "Oh, you're not gonna be with me. You're gonna be with Dent, and fuck you." Like, he just seemed kind of like a baby in that movie. But the first movie was perfect. The best Batman, yeah, that's hands down. Best Batman is the animated Batman. Yeah, but that's the thing. That could be the origin. Like, if you're like, even Batman wasn't good at what he was doing, like, in the beginning. Like, he had to learn, you know? Like, this Joker has to learn to be more chaotic, more methodical. Like, he needs something bigger than, like, you know, a town and unrest and, like, a grudge against a late night host for him to really break into, like, his character. So I think, like, if they want to make him the Joker, like, he's gonna go through stuff to go down a path, you know? And I thought this movie was really interesting because, like, it's a take on a villain. So there's no counterweight to him. There's no, like, oh, someone's gonna come and save the day. Like, there was none of that. Like, none of that. So I think that's why people think it was like a dangerous movie, because there's no, like, balance in the movie. Balance, like, his evil. We're just like, we're going pure evil. And then, like, the good is, like, here. Like, there's little good. But, like, evil, we're pushing that shit. So we're not going to have Batman, like, come in and stop him, or anyone come and stop him. So I thought that was also an interesting take. That was a good, like, because he wasn't portrayed as an anti-hero. He was portrayed as a bad guy. Like, a guy down on his luck, taking it the wrong fucking way. Like, I think any sensible person would see it that way. Nobody would come out of the movie and be like, oh, he was right, I'm going to start killing people. Like, that does not work. Super physical. I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. Those movies are terrible. An ex-girlfriend of mine forced me to watch Grey's Anatomy. Not Grey's Anatomy. 50 Shades of Grey. So I had to suffer through that. So I'm with you, brother. Joker 2, Prince of the Clown. No, Clown Prince of Crime. Call it Joker, Clown Prince of Crime. Yep. I think I like it. That's true, Donald. That's true. But I mean, I feel like you could do an origin for, like, a good Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze has an interesting backstory. You could do one for Penguin. Penguin, you could be sympathetic by Penguin because, you know, he has a family. You know, everyone has a family. Like, it always starts with, like, with parents, with, like, how your parents treat you, and then your environment and the people around you. If you have shitty parents, you're gonna end up a supervillain in comics, you know. So I think you could do a comic book villain well, but I think doing it with Joker proves, you know, I think that proves that. Like, you're taking the most popular villain and then making him not sympathetic, but, like, well, kind of sympathetic, because, like, in the beginning it was a very sympathetic character. Like, you feel for him, you feel sorry for him, but then you slowly dives deep into that madness, and you slowly become less empathetic with him and be like, yeah, he's gone, he's long gone. So I think it's possible, but they need to if you're gonna do a real good comic book villain, you got to go hard R. You got to go R, and you don't got to give a fuck what you put in the movie. You got to make it dark. Yeah, Bane. You know, I mean, Bane could be. I don't even know Bane's backstory. I know he's like a wrestler, but you could like even tie that to like, oh, like a wrestler, like, you know, a wrestler that like keeps losing or something, and then he's like approached by like some shady person. Is like, oh, you'll be better with this, and he just like tries Venom, and he wins his match, and then like, you know, he gets slowly like, it's like, you can make a great, actually you can make a great Bane movie. You could like make it like kind of like where this movie was, Joker was more about like mental illness. You could do like uh, a movie with Bane dealing with drugs addiction, which is essentially what Venom is. Like, you just get more and more addicted to the thing that like makes you better, you know. I think that would be a good pitch. I mean, I feel like you could do that. That's like a very possible thing. And I'm just some fucking schmuck and like, making animated content online. Like, I'm not even like, you know, a Hollywood writer or anything. So I just kind of pitched like a good idea for like a Bane movie. But I feel like DC should do that. They should take like more villains and just give it the Joker treatment, or keep doing Joker or whatever. So that is that. Latin American country. Yeah, he was a Hispanic. He's Hispanic, part of rebellion. Oh, really? Okay. And then like he becomes a wrestler, and I think he becomes a wrestler, right? Something like that. The Chinese. Well, that's the thing. Joker's making so much money. It's not even. It's like banned in China, or it's not being shown in China, and it's still making so much money without the Chinese market. That's fucking crazy, dude. Chinese market's huge. So it's pretty fucking good. Alright. We just spent an hour talking about this. I've done zero work. I have done zero work. Let us watch this. Let's finish this libertarian debate. I'm sorry, Murdoch. I know I said this. We'd be taking a break, but this is the last video I have to watch, so we may as well just finish it.
The unethical premise that.
Alright, let's finish up this interview. Harvey Dent origin. Yeah, dude, you could. There, like, if you guys have seen Batman animated series, I'm sure you guys have, but if you rewatch that, like, they tell really good origin stories. I remember as a kid, I watched the Harvey Dent episode where he was still Harvey Dent before he was Two-Face. Like, that origin made me very sympathetic to Harvey. Like, it made me very sad. Like, this guy just, like, down on his luck, and, like, all this shit was happening to him, and then he just turns after his face, like, burns off. Like, you could tell a really great story, man. You really can. The White Knight. The White. Alright, so we're gonna continue with this debate from Adam Kokish. Kokish? Something like that. We'll continue here. And if you guys still want to talk about it, like, feel free to leave a comment or anything, or extra theories you guys have, or whatever, and we can talk about it. This weekend I am seeing Terminator 3. So we're going to talk about Terminator 3 next week. So I might even see 4 too. I've seen 1 and 2 with my girlfriend, but she's like, if you want to see 3 and the rest of them on your own, you can. So I'm going to see them on my own, so I have to wait for her. So I want to watch T3 and then like give my overall summary of the entirety of the Terminator series. Which I know it's not gonna be good. I know, but see. Gotta just check something. Terminator 3 is trash. I remember it being trash. I've seen it. I saw it as a kid, and I guess I enjoyed it. I didn't really know too much about the Terminator series, so um, yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it is. We'll see how it is. Uh, uh, da, 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 da. Oh, that's interesting. Anna's gonna be executive producer when Jenk's gone, so she's taking up that role. She's moving up in life. It's pretty cool. Good for her. Okay, let us watch this or listen to this debate.
As an individual human being, we all own ourselves.
There you go.
Wow.
Fucking ads.
I heard about these. I've never seen one before.
Yeah, well, now you have.
Yeah.
Look, pay yourself whatever and give yourself a nice tip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my god, my
You
mouse
got an
is
app when
fucking.
You got home okay?
My mouse is wrong.
She get home okay?
No. Took her to Mass General. They're pumping her stomach as we speak.
Change my mouse.
What's her name? You don't know, do you? Okay. This is the point where usually I'd give you a chance to do the right thing, but not tonight. Tonight I'm gonna need your cameras, cell phones, anything you might have used to record what you did to her.
I've had rechargeable batteries for like. Or I've had these same rechargeable batteries for like 10 plus years. And I think they're finally starting to give it out of me.
You knocked on the wrong door tonight, Pops.
Oh, bear with me. I gotta change my mouse batteries. Shit. I'm finally glad we talked about Joker. Like, this has been like months in the making.
Right.
And as human beings on this planet, we have a right to equitable access to natural resources. Now, it sounds like you're scared almost of giving up all of the securities and protections provided by the current system and the status quo. And that makes sense. A lot of people feel that. But if you step back and you look at all of the problems facing humanity today, you look at the violence that's done in the world today, and you look at the violence that's been done over the course of human history, how humans have died by each other's hands. It's very conservative to estimate that even today, 90+% of the violence and coercion in the world is done in the name of governments. And it's really heartless to say, well, because I can't figure out this situation or this abstract situation or this scenario or this concept of property rights. And Sam, you are absolutely right to point out that without a government, people coming together peacefully will have to come up with better mechanisms to solve these conflicts. It's not going to be automatic. It's not just poof, government's gone and everything's, better. No, absolutely not. I'm not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is that when we identify the unethical grounds, the unethical premises of an institution, we have a moral imperative to try to see how we move past those. And I understand that you.
I would. I mean,
So-
you. But we haven't. See,
Putin is
you
Jewish,
and I
half
have
Jewish?
not agreed on that
Didn't know that.
ethical problem. I mean,
Okay.
you one breath say that we have universal access to resources, yet you want to draw a line around stuff and say this is my property. Now, I don't have a problem with property rights, but that's not. I don't have any massive principle that says that I cannot that I don't that I have a problem with anything that is aggressive or in any way invades. I understand that property rights are an offense to other people on some level. I am excluding people from access to those resources, and that's just part of the way that we have found society to function. Personally, I would like to loosen and diminish some of those property rights so people can't own so much so that they get a little bit closer to the size of their body, okay? As opposed to owning huge tracts of land or maybe even mansions. Huh?
Like the system that you're doing, the system that you're defending here is doing exactly what you're saying is a problem here. So let me give you an example from my experience.
I definitely think that we can reform our system so that property rights are not as preeminent as you would make them in an era where there's nobody to even adjudicate them.
Okay, so I own 10 acres in the mountains in Arizona, and I'm building a homestead on 10 acres. And I could have gotten 40 acres. I could have gotten 160 acres. I could have gotten more. But there's a reason I got 10 acres, is that I believe that 10 acres is what I'm going to use, and that I can reasonably say, even without government giving me a deed and saying that I own this little square, if I put up a fence around 10 acres and I claim that I'm using 10 acres and I'm building a homestead and I want to support a family and I want to be able to make a home and raise plant, farm and do whatever, I want to do to be self-sustaining there, that it's going to be a long time before the population of the planet gets so big that someone's going to say 10 acres is too much for you. So I think that there's not just a respect under the current paradigm. I think under my principled paradigm of the future, there's still a fundamental respect for that. Now, if I put up a fence around 1 million acres in Wyoming, right? Let's say I go out to the plains in Wyoming and I put up a fence around.
Yeah, the Bernie episode on Joe Rogan is really good. I watched that twice. I would love to listen to it again. It was a really good episode.
Around 1 million acres, and I say, screw you guys, I own 1 million acres, this is all mine. If I'm not using it, that's not a legitimate property rights claim. So in order for me to claim 1 million acres, I would not only have to have a legitimate claim based on usage, I would have to have the consent of society around me that no one else is going to claim that and homestead it. If I put up a fence around 1 million acres and I live in a house in the corner, I can't stop someone from coming and claiming 10 acres in the far corner.
But wait a second. Here's what I don't understand. Who decides that you're using that 1 million acres properly, and who decides that you're using that 10 acres properly?
Well, so under our current system, it's government. Under what I'm suggesting, it would be done by social consent.
Okay. How many people would it take to breach that social consent?
Oh, it's going to depend on the circumstance. Again, you're asking a question.
But I'm asking the question that, like, okay, we do have some migration of people, or maybe somebody comes up to your 10 acres and sees, like, hey man, he's not using that. What is that? A tree house? That's not. I don't consider that use. I consider only food. In fact, the only legitimate use I think is legitimate is digging for oil. And I'm going to come in there with my drilling machine and I'm going to drill for oil on your property. That's use, right? Because that oil is going to power vehicles all around the country. You're just making lettuce for yourself.
Sure.
Who adjudicates that in your world?
Well, one of the things that
just sheer force? Do I win because I got an oil company and I got more guns than you do? I mean, who adjudicates that?
Hold on. Well, I already told you that it was based on the concept of social consent, right? So one of the things
I don't know what that
your
means.
scenario-
I don't. I understand. I honestly don't understand what you're talking about. What does social consent mean in this
Well-
context? Like, what is the app? How does that? What does that look like in the real world?
Are you going to let me explain?
Yeah.
Okay. So in your scenario, when you say that you come in to my property with an oil company,
Yeah, I was reading some of the comments of the Bernie Joe Rogan thing. Like, a lot of people seem like, he makes sense. He's not a crazy dude. The power of Joe Rogan, man. That was a great interview. Very substantive. Even more so than, like, corporate media, which is crazy. It's just some dude with a podcast.
and you're going to drill there, there's a certain amount of social consent behind you doing that, because an oil company is not something that one individual can create by themselves. There has to be an organization and an institution and a huge customer base in order to do that. A big part of what I am advocating is an increase in awareness that results in a higher level of conscientious consumerism. So today, in terms of settling disputes and all of these services provided by government, we're not very conscientious consumers. We let the government take whatever it takes out of our paychecks. We go and vote every 2 years, and we generally let it do its thing without questioning it or looking for alternatives or competition. So in the case of the consent with this oil company, if it was under the government would be protecting that oil company's right to exist as a corporation. In the society that I envision, there would be a level of conscientiousness required for that oil company to come together and violate my property that in such a way that I would be able to appeal to the people behind that and challenge that consent and say, hey guys, I actually own this property. Is this really what you want to do? There's a way that we can address this peacefully, as opposed to having the government force corporate rights onto my property.
Okay. Now you understand that you say the government allows the corporation to come there. The government also, in my world, regulates the company from going on there. But let's say like Chevron going down into, wait a second. Let me, I've heard your scenario, and I don't know how you appeal to the customers of Chevron who don't know who you are. I don't know how you appeal to them. I don't know if you do it through YouTube or what, to say, hey, your company that you buy gasoline from, they're coming and digging on my property, because it didn't work that well for Latin America, I can assure you.
It wouldn't be possible at that point. Like, I mean, what you're saying is like, what if we figure out indoor plumbing and then someone doesn't shower for a year? Aren't they going to smell? Yeah, but that's not a reason to not have indoor plumbing.
I've given you a scenario. I'm not following that. I've given you a scenario where an oil company comes to your property. You say, you can't come onto this property because I use all the 10 acres. That's how I determine that I get to own this property, because I use it all. And the oil company says, you use it all according to the Adam Kokesh definition of use, but according to the Chevron definition of use, this is all unused property because there's oil underneath you. So we're going to dig there.
Right.
And you're telling me that in the scenario you are envisioning, you will be able to go to appeal to the customers of Chevron and to the people who work there and the board of directors or whatever it is, the group, whatever committee they have, and say, hey, I'm growing lettuce here. Don't go and dig for oil. And that's
right. Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Not exactly. No, not exactly. So you're presuming that people are dicks. I mean, you're going from like.
I'm presuming that oil companies are dicks. Yes.
Exactly. So, but people who are in charge of oil companies and people who are in charge of governments are dicks. By and large.
Wait. Let's stick with oil companies because oil companies are gonna. I can assure you. Like I spend a lot of time going and talking to tort lawyers who go and they, through discovery, see the documents from corporations when they are breaking the rules of government. They're doing it in secret because they don't want to get caught. And I got news for you. In these corporations, there are some real dicks. And some of them are in oil companies, some of them are in pharmaceuticals, some of them are in manufacturing. There are dicks in the world. And they don't care about you or your lettuce that you're growing on your property. They want the oil or they want the profit.
All right. So, I mean, I can tell you're getting really excited about this, and there's a lot that you're passionate about here, and you see a lot of injustice in the world that really motivates you. And I appreciate that. And I really respect that because, you know, me as an activist, you know, I started with the Iraq Veterans Against the War. I think in that sense, I really respect that we both come from an activist mentality.
It's mutual.
We're motivated by a deep-seated sense of injustice.
Yes.
So you keep kind of running over me trying to explain stuff, going back to all of these problems with the current status quo and with the injustices of today. So I'm going to try to make this really short on the points that you bring up with corporatism and property rights and all of that, is that by and large, people are good people. Like, you know, I don't want to play this game. Are people good or evil? No, but by and large, people are nice, cooperative. They want to get along. They don't want to, you know, drill and spill oil and fracking water all over my lettuce. You know, like generally people don't want to do that. So there's a system today where the people who want to be assholes have the system of government corporatism that protects them from real accountability. I want to take that protection away from them. I want the general body of the people of the world who are good people to stop allowing corporations as special legal entities and governments with special violent privileges to exist. Let's stop empowering them. Let's have a higher standard of behavior. Let's have a better mechanism of accountability. That's what I'm suggesting. I think that we can address, I'm not saying that the problems that you're raising are not legitimate. I'm not saying that I have the perfect answer to every single one of them. I'm just pointing out there's a underlying element of a false ethical premise underneath the current system of governments, and we can do better if we examine that and really seek a more ethical society.
I'm not making an ethical argument. I'm making a practical one because what you are suggesting to me sounds like feudalism. And what you see these corporations as being enabled by the government, and I see them as being in a flawed manner, without a doubt, and I would like to strengthen this. I mean, my proactive agenda would be far less freedom for these groups of people who organize to dig oil, let's say, in particular, among others. And what you're suggesting to me is feudalism, because I haven't heard not just I haven't heard of an example of a mechanism. Like what you're suggesting to me is utopian. I think maybe, even if I agree that most people are basically good, which I think I do, the fact is there are bad actors. And there are bad actors who accumulate in a system of property more power and property than other people. And it's not often a coincidence that bad actors do this, because they are willing to do things to accumulate more, which necessarily come out of the hide of other people. And so I'm saying that humanity has this problem. And what's the most efficient way that we have found in dealing with it? And in my mind, it is government. And government, at least, is a vehicle in which we can attempt to improve and exist beyond the lifespan of humans, so that we don't have to recreate this and hope that that each successive generation, or every time someone moves from one state to another or migrates over, that there's a certain set of rules that we can rely on. And I would also say that I think government does a lot of great things for people. Social insurance, keeping people out of poverty. It would be nice, I think, in a world where everyone just figured out a way and everybody could agree on the best, most practical methodology to to fulfill those human needs that you talked about. But unless I hear of, like, even an example of how we resolve the conflict, the simple conflict of your property and some entity that wants to come and use it or take it. I mean, we couldn't even resolve what happens when I walk into your house and want to take a nap there. And so there's...
If you really want to get into those hypotheticals, I'm happy to. But
we have been.
The statement that you made at the very beginning there of what you just said, I think is most important in illuminating the difference in our worldviews. And
next time you do this, you could be doing this. How? By using a koja.
And this could really be the crux and the difference between libertarianism and all forms of statism. And it's that you're saying the ends justify the means. You're willing to look at what's practical over what's ethical. And I reject that. I say no, principle is pragmatic. There's no dichotomy here of principle versus pragmatism. When you do unprincipled things, you get impractical results. Government, you look at the cost-benefit analysis, really clearly bears that out if you want the examples. But no, I am not willing to do something or support something or advocate for something that is unethical because I see some practical benefit.
Well, I mean, you and I disagree on what constitutes unethical. I don't think taxes are unethical at all. And so we have a fundamental disagreement there. But I would also add that for me, you're right. I do not have the confidence that I have the access to a fundamental truth that beyond wanting to meet as much human need and mitigate as much human suffering as possible. And after that basic agenda, it's what is the most pragmatic way to do that. So I don't have the dilemma that you have. I don't think taxes are unethical. I don't think that it is fundamentally wrong to join a social compact, even if I didn't get the opportunity to opt out. I mean, I could leave the United States, but everything that's here is a function of other people having been in the social compact before I was born. And there is really no place to go on the planet where, for the most part, I mean, maybe there's some reaches of the planet where you can go where you're not walking on the suffering or the achievements of others. And so I don't have those same ethical problems. So I'm not making that calculation that you assume I'm making, that the ends justifies the means. I don't think the means are so horrific. So I don't have that dilemma.
So when you're going about this system, I assume that you have some concept of ethics. You have some limitation for what government can or cannot do or should or shouldn't do. What is the foundation of your system of ethics, and how would you describe your concept of ethics?
Well, I mean, I have a system of personal ethics, but in terms of what government can and cannot do, I mean, I think...
There's no such thing as, like, when I mean ethics here, at least what I'm asking here is not like personal something. What universal human ethics is in code of conduct behavior between human beings.
Well, I think we should operate in a way that maximizes or that minimizes human suffering and that maximizes the satisfaction of human needs.
So those aren't really ethical principles. Those are objectives. Looking like ethical principles, like what's right and what's wrong. How do you determine what is that? What you're describing there describes an approach or an attitude or an objective. How I'm asking for what is your line between right and wrong?
Well, like I say, I have a set of personal ethics, but things that bring about, that mitigate human suffering. And
so you don't have a universal concept of ethics. You can't tell me a system where every human being should get along by universal rules that apply to everybody. You don't have that.
Well, I mean, I think that we have a flawed system of making that determination in the context of our society.
Well, so I'm suggesting that, you know, when you look at what is ethics, it's not that hard to come to a consistent conclusion. Say, you know, as an individual consciousness in its own body,
I
you
don't.
own yourself.
I mean, I guess it is hard for me to do that because I don't see the point. I mean, I don't have. How do I think?
You don't see the point of determining what's right and wrong.
Well, I don't have. I mean, I've told you, and you don't accept it. I have a test, and that test is not. The test does not exist in a vacuum. It exists based upon what I see. I don't have my concept of good and evil or right or wrong does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in the world.
So, but it's purely based on practical outcome. Then you don't have a principle. You have a way of measuring outcomes and judging outcomes.
I'm telling you, it is based on the principle as to what provides the best outcomes.
Okay, well, I would say that when you examine that closely enough, you get past that superficial level of what looks practical, you start getting to principles. The one principle is nonviolence. Nonviolent cooperation is better than...
Yeah, do I think nonviolent cooperation is better than violent non-cooperation? Yes. But it, you know, I mean, Adam, with respect, you and I differ in the sense that you are a fundamentalist. You have some.
All right.
Well, it's true.
I believe in fundamentals. I believe in ethics. I'm a fundamentalist.
No,
Okay.
you're a fundamentalist. I mean, definitely. This is not a pejorative. It's a value-neutral term. But you operate under a set of values that do not that the real-world examples are irrelevant at the end of the day. Outcomes, like you say, are not going to in any way impact your set of fundamental beliefs, and that I don't operate that way. I look at the world and I see changing dynamics, and I see.
Hold on, if you're going to characterize me that way, let me just at least. I do believe in putting principles first, but I test those principles against pragmatic results.
Well, but we've had examples here. I mean, like, I keep giving you the opportunity to test those principles in the context of like real world scenarios, which is, hey, my tribe lives here. Chevron's coming and taking our land and expropriating it for their own desire to profit. I mean, we have so many examples of this. And
and that's a real problem.
You can't give me a mechanism in which that doesn't happen, except to say that you're going to appeal to the consumers of Chevron, and that doesn't work.
Right, because right now, what we have. So I'm not, again. You're saying that, Adam, if what you're advocating isn't perfect, then we're
no, I'm not saying not perfect.
Have.
I'm saying completely dysfunctional.
No.
I'm not saying it's flawed. I'm saying it doesn't exist.
Okay, again, I agree with you that it doesn't exist. So you're not like making a counterpoint there. You're just repeating yourself, because I'm telling you, like, this is something that we are progressing towards as a species. We are getting less violent over time. And this isn't my observations. This is Professor Steven Pinker at Harvard, who has proven academically that violence is on a decay curve over the course of human existence. We are getting less violent over time. That's progress. I want to see that progress continue. And in these scenarios that you throw at me, there's not a single one where you go, you know, violence made this situation better on some kind of principled grounds. No, when Chevron comes into some Native American land, it's always with the protection of government. You want to look at how it's always been. You go, yeah, we've always had a government making that worse, empowering those corporations, protecting them from accountability to their consumers, limiting choice, limiting competition.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're not going to resolve this, but I think, you know, I guess, you know, I don't know if you would agree that your prescription is utopian in some way. I mean, to me, it sort of feels that way. The biggest problem.
Oh, no. The opposite. The prescription of statism, of saying that we can have a violent central authority and that's going to solve our problems, that's utopian.
Okay.
But Sam, let me step back for a second and say, you said we're not going to like resolve this. I don't think the point of this conversation is to resolve. So I just want to say I'm having a lot of fun. And I think this conversation has been really good in illuminating the differences. And I think this has been a really good exchange. And I'm really grateful for how you've engaged in this. And again, for the opportunity to present that you've given me in the course of this conversation to present my ideas to your audience.
Well, Adam, I appreciate your coming on and also creating the innovative new technology that we're using, where the first Skype call. But yeah, I appreciate your coming on, Adam, and thanks for sharing with us.
Favor. Hopefully, I get to return the favor soon. I mean, I'm working on bringing back Adam versus the Man in
Great.
a variety of forms. And it would be an honor to keep this conversation going.
I'm there. I'll do it. I appreciate it. Adam Kokich, where should people go again?
Yeah, let me get my plugs in.
Yes.
So this is my book. I don't have a copy of it here because all my copies where I'm at.
He's holding a freedom sticker. It literally says freedom. Yeah.
Right now are in envelopes in press kits going out to announce the Big Easy Book Bomb. This is my libertarian manifesto. It's 100 pages. It's free in every digital format possible, including audiobook. I don't know if you can see that there.
Freedomline.com?
TheFreedomline.com. We are about to deliver over 200,000 copies of this book, one to every single residential mailbox in the city of New Orleans. And I will be there the first 2 weeks of January. Very much looking forward to that. My website, thefreedomline.com. You can email me, adam@thefreedomline.com. Sam, thank you. And thanks to everybody who's made this possible.
Adam, thank you. I have to ask, how are you getting it to the mailboxes?
USPS, baby. Government mail.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And the books are printed in communist China.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks. All right. Thanks, Adam. Bye-bye. That is not necessarily the least violent way to print your books, it seems to me. But
can I just say something that maybe will be in slightly poor taste, but I'm going to do it in character?
Hold on for 1 second. Okay. All
Ready?
right, wait. Let's go into the fun half.
Oh, my
we're going to do a short, obviously, fun half today. But that was fun. There was a little murmuring around here that I didn't appreciate. You can't talk off camera like that. It's distracting.
Oh, sorry.
It's like the old days.
It's like the old days.
I mean, most of it was like, let me at him. I got some stuff to say. I feel like I
know.
could do
You gotta-
very well against a right-wing libertarian in a debate.
I think that would be a great programmatic choice for the Antifada. But that's when I get a libertarian.
What should I listen to next, guys? Should we just like put music on? Or what? Is there like a good Sam debate that I haven't heard, or should we just play music? You let me know.
Forget it.
Let's see. Oh wait, he's talking about Ann Coulter.
I found that I enjoyed that.
Oh, really? Even the slavery part was boring.
I enjoyed it. So
Always comes back around to slavery somehow.
it's all just about me.
Could have been done non-violently. Think about it. That was nice. Got some rest in.
I got some stuff to say. I feel
I
like I
know.
could do
You gotta-
very well against a right-wing libertarian in a debate.
I think that would be a great programmatic choice for the Antifada. But that's when I get a libertarian. Forget it.
I know.
It's like sending me to an all-you-can-eat
I
Chinese
know.
buffet.
I
I'm
know.
not gonna.
Sam claims property rights.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
we-
have property
we
rights.
quieted
right here.
down and let
Right
you.
here.
This
Although
one's
your
yours.
consciousnly was definitely not evolving during.
I did not. I felt like my
conversation at all. It was
consciousness
actually
was
devolving.
narrowing.
But we quieted down.
I know. All right. Folks, just remember you can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. The tickets for the January 13th live Majority Report are selling like, it's almost like the crumbs of hotcakes now. There's so few left. So you better hurry. Head over to majority.fm. You also just have a couple of days left, I think, to go to justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. 30% off. No coupon code needed for the next couple of days. 30% off. And last night was Tuesday. Michael miraculously got healthy again.
Miraculously. That was nice. Got some rest in. I needed to rest up in preparation for listening to you debate a libertarian.
There you go. Exactly.
Matt Taibbi was in studio. We did it. What is it? It wasn't that bad.
Oh yeah, it was.
It was one reference.
No,
It would have helped you. Go ahead. Well, actually, watch how a pro handles this. So we talked to Matt Taibbi, and stop me! I can't do it. I can't.
And Coulter.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these disputes in the Democratic Party base because they all hate one another. I mean, you have the Muslims and the Jews and the various exotic sexual groups and the black church ladies with the college queers. The only thing that keeps the Democratic base together is for them to keep focusing on, no, white men are the ones keeping you down. You must hate white men. It's the one thing they all have in common.
I almost don't know where to start with that. I mean, first of all, the premise about this women's march, I don't know if you read this piece. I've read a little bit about it. There was a big piece, I think it was in the Tablet maybe, which was incredibly misleading for a number of reasons about it. It made it sound like there was a...
Sam Cedar versus Charlie. Yeah, I guess we could listen to that. It might go for like another hour, so I might not listen to the whole thing, but...
Here's the Young Turks at Politicon 2018. If you want to catch us every day.
This is the final point.
The tax rate.
Under Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Hold on.
Next time you do this, you could be doing this. How? By using a koja.
Unfair actor on the world stage for far too long. They still are categorized for them to. And if the goal is to get to low tariffs with some of these countries, I'm all for it. But with China. Sam Seder.
All right.
So for those who don't know me, my name is Stephen Olikara. I'm the founder of a nonpartisan organization called the Millennial Action Project. I'm honored to be back at Politicon for the 4th year, and we've got a great debate for all of you discussing the middle class and whether Trump has been helpful or hurtful to the middle class, and we'll debate all of that here. My one request of the panelists is that we want to have an exchange of ideas. And so we want to focus on the substance, avoid personal attacks, and my request on behalf of the audience here is that we don't yell over each other because then they won't be able to understand what you're saying. So are we on board with that?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
All right. Very good. Are you all ready to get started? Okay. So again, we're here talking about the middle class, and I think perhaps the most consequential piece of legislation that President Trump passed related to this was the tax bill last year. So I'm going to start with Sam. What was your take on the tax bill, and more broadly, do you think Trump has been helpful to the middle class?
Well, let me answer your second question first. No. I don't think he's been particularly helpful for the middle class. I don't think that across the board, I'm sure there are some measures perhaps, but across the board, net, things are not better for the middle class now, and certainly down the road they're going to be a lot worse because of policies that we've seen at least in the first 2 years of this administration. 65% of the tax cuts went to the top 20% of the country. This was, in nominal terms, the biggest tax cut for the middle class in history, or at least recent memory. But at the end of the day, if I turn Charlie's microphone up from a 5 to an 8, and mine from a 5 to a 12 or a 10, that is the dynamic that we have going here with incredible wealth inequality. middle class losing out in terms of wages versus inflation. Certainly, at least in the first 18 months of the Trump administration versus the last 18 months of the Obama administration, where it was basically flipped. And with increased wealth inequality, you get things like middle class being priced out of the housing market in the top 10 metropolitan areas across the country. You see it in other areas as well. So broadly speaking, at least in terms of the tax cuts, it provides some very inefficient stimulus to the economy, but no, this was for the very wealthy.
Charlie, your response. I first want to say, Sam, I think you always come about your ideas very thoughtfully, so I look forward to this discussion, sincerely. So.
Me too, thank you.
No. And so the first thing, I would come from the argument that Trump has helped the middle class, and let me build it out in a couple ways. First of all, you did say it was the largest middle class tax cut in recent memory. Now, that's not saying a lot, because there hasn't been done a lot for the middle class, but let's define what exactly we mean by the middle class. The middle class, in some ways, is a uniquely American concept. The way that most people would label the middle class, and you could have your own definition, is you have the comfort to send your child to a relatively good school, and your child's life has a greater than likelihood chance that will be better than your life. That you have a median income that allows you to live comfortable, that you could take maybe 1 to 2 vacations a year, and that you don't have to have an insurmountable amount of debt. Now, that being said, when Americans are polled, anywhere between 70 to 90% of Americans think they're middle class, which of course only 50% of Americans are middle class. So it's really amazing to see the separation of data of how many people think they're middle class versus how many people actually are middle class. The reason that I would say that is that we have an elevated standard of living in this country that goes beyond just income, and goes actually that people that are earning $30,000 to $40,000 a year have access to higher quality goods that in other countries they wouldn't. But let's talk about the Trump tax cut in particular. First of all, there's a lot of demonization against corporations and against businesses. When businesses thrive, they have to employ people. And so 3.5 million jobs have been created since the start of the Trump administration. Most of those are middle-class jobs. Wages have gone up about 3.8% in the last year. They were flatlining under the Obama presidency. My favorite number...
I'm sorry,
well,
that's not true. Excuse me?
Hey, hold on. I'm running the panel
here.
here.
You can't do what you just did.
Excuse me.
Well, but
I'm not going to sit here
Sam,
and have lies about facts. Everybody has a phone. Google middle-class wages. See if they're stagnant versus inflation.
So 3.8% wage increase over the last year for the median worker. Hispanic income is at its highest level in American history at $50,000 a year. My favorite number of the Trump administration is that 3.9 million people have gone off food stamps and into the labor force. 3.9 million people. Now, why is that my favorite number? For us conservatives, we do not judge success by how many people go on government programs, but instead of how many people go off into independence. Now, I will not say that our economy is at its optimal level. I think it's the best economy in a generation. You look at a 4.2% GDP growth, 3.7% unemployment rate. And so if you judge the middle class by two major things, which is...
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Standard of living increase, of which you're seeing that happen dramatically. And the second of which is education. We have a lot of work to do on the education side. I think you and I would both agree on that. We could have an extended conversation about that on policy. But the economic metrics are so good that the New York Times says, quote, "This economy is so good, we're running out of ways to critique it." And so, again, it's not a perfect economy, but for middle-class Americans that care about rising wages, creating jobs, and tax cuts, the average American family had a $2,700 tax cut under this Trump tax cut. That's good for consumer spending power, that's good for savings, and it's good for, of course, what you would say is more demand-side economics, coupled with supply-side economics that created jobs and repatriated trillions of dollars of wealth back to America.
So everyone here has a phone, and they can Google the first 18 months of the Trump administration versus the last 18 months of the Obama administration. Wages have gone up 1.7% under the first 18 months of the Trump administration. They have inflation is up 3.8%. That is simply a fact. Now, if you narrow the time horizon you can come up with numbers you're talking about. And this is why people have to be careful about statistics, because I can come up here and manipulate anything. Yes, Latino wages are up. In fact, the middle class is making more money today than in $61,000 than in the past. However, like I say, inflation is up. The cost of higher education has gone up 110% since 1994. So it doesn't matter if the middle class is making $61,000 if to lead the middle class life that you were talking about is that much more expensive. If the middle class liked the tax cuts, they wouldn't disfavor them far greater than they do even Obamacare at this point, right? I mean, so the bottom line is, we can throw out statistics, but if they're not contextualized, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so
everyone knows the tax cuts went to the wealthy. Am I demonizing them? No. The point is that they have an inordinate amount of wealth and income in this country, and it turns into political power. And I know you have a problem with that. And the way to solve that is to flatten the tax, is to not give them tax cuts and more power, and give corporations more power and cash to pay off their shareholders, which tend to be the board of directors and the CEOs, but rather to spread the wealth.
So, okay. There are some things I agreed with. However, to contextualize it further, it doesn't make the economic growth, the economic success any less exceptional or any less historic, because
it's following the same trajectory as the Obama administration.
Hold on a second.
It goes like this.
Okay, so
he hasn't screwed it up.
Sam, I routinely restrained myself during your comments to allow you.
Thank you for that, Charlie.
And that's a big deal for me. If you watched yesterday,
feel free to interrupt me when you think I've said something wrong.
If that you heard it, everyone heard it. Okay, so let's. I'm going to walk through a couple points there. The first of all, the big misconception that I have with your original analysis is that just because someone gets rich, someone got poor. That is categorically false. If a wealthy person increases their net worth, they did not exploit someone to get wealthier. They had to take a risk, employ a bunch of people, buy a building, have a really good idea, and people had to continue to buy those products over and over again. And you and I will have a philosophical and economic difference in this. I come from a...
What movie did you watch, Emily? What movie did you watch?
Perspective that does not believe in the zero-sum game and does not believe in the fixed pie fallacy. Instead, I believe that when someone gets richer, they must employ an extraordinary amount of people. They had to take a huge risk. They had a higher than likelihood chance not to succeed. They probably borrowed money, and then they had to create something that all of us had to buy over and over and over again. That inherently allows the standard of living to increase for all people, prices to usually go down, and then you enter competition. It's very, very difficult to do that time and time again, and you see in market-based economies, you have to have really, really good ideas for a long period of time to accumulate that kind of wealth. With that being said, those that get wealthy because of access to power, such as 8 out of the 10 wealthiest counties in America around Washington, D.C., they're not actually creating anything that I would consider to be of value to the middle class, because they're being rewarded to their geographic proximity to a $4.4 trillion federal budget that is extracting money away from middle-class Americans. Those are the lobbyists, those are the trial lawyers, those are the people working for the corporations that are lobbying not on behalf of middle America, but on behalf of people around Washington, D.C. So
Professional, never heard of it.
Well, okay,
Maybe not.
The people who live in the counties you're talking about are overwhelmingly arms sales and military-industrial complex people.
I'm not defending
the Trump
that,
administration raised the budget of the military
I don't agree with
by $700 billion over the next 10 years.
But Sam,
that money's flowing into those. Is that right or wrong?
I don't agree with that, though. So I will have a consensus
well,
that
but my point is Donald Trump is the one who is leading that extraction of wealth.
First of all,
but let me finish.
Didn't you say I can interrupt you if you said
if
something?
I said something wrong?
Yes. So it's only $700 billion of our budget every single year. What's the rest? It's to entitlements. It is to the federal bureaucracies. How about the government contracts for housing and urban development? The government contracts for health and human services?
Well, you were talking
what about the government contracts?
For more information about polycythemia vera, PV, visit takeactionpv.com.
Yeah, so those counties that get the government contracts outside of the defense contracts are also what I put my critique on.
Minuscule. The
$3.2 trillion is not minuscule.
It's a made-up number. Let's talk Kansas for a moment, shall we? Because you can talk about what a small business does for employment. I'm a small businessman, and I understand what small business does. In Kansas, if I had been living in Kansas, I would have gotten a huge tax break because I'm an S corp. Huge. Under Sam Brownback back in 2012. He brought in Arthur Laffer, who I'm sure you're familiar with, is the god for folks like you in many respects. The idea being, if we cut taxes on the wealthy, they will spread this wealth. It will trickle down on all of us. It will shower down on us, right? It will rain upon us. And we will all be sprinkled with this golden shower, if you will. And the economy will explode. And people will have jobs, and everything will work out. In fact, revenue will go up. That's what Mitch McConnell told us after this tax cut, too. And what happened in Kansas was a disaster. It was such an unmitigated disaster. Not only did it destroy Kansas's educational system, the Republican-controlled State House rose taxes 4 years later because their economic growth lagged, their employment lagged, and then Sam Brownback was literally made ambassador to like ether, right? He's like the ambassador to religion now. He's been jettisoned into the atmosphere in some way because that is the perfect example of the Republican conservative philosophy, and it failed. And we know that it's failing now on a national level.
Can I chip in here?
Because Mitch McConnell made the same promise about the deficit. In fact, Larry Kudlow, the chief economic advisor of the president, made this same promise in July. And we now have a deficit that is twice the size it was when Obama left office. And now Mitch McConnell wants to cut Medicare and Social Security because of those taxes.
You're not going to hear me. You're not going to hear me defend federal deficits or our exploding national debt. Quick fact: Barack Obama added more debt than any other president in U.S. history.
Do you defend these tax cuts that have doubled the deficit?
So the tax cuts should have been coupled with spending cuts. However, we have explosive economic growth. We have more people in the labor force than ever
That's
before.
revenue coming in.
We have trillions of dollars repatriating back to America. Let me finish. I allowed you to have your Kansas example. Now that we're talking about states, let's talk about the juxtaposition of the failed state of California with the successful state of Texas. And I think I want a country that's going to look a lot more like Florida and Texas and a lot less like Illinois and California. Now, what have states like Illinois and California done? Well, they're losing citizens, number one. They're losing job creators. They're losing entrepreneurs because they have raised taxes. They have reckless politicians in both states like Illinois and California. What have Texas and Florida done? They've kept their taxes low. Both have no state income tax. They have deregulated their economies, and Sam would even agree with that. Texas, during the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, 2010, comprised 1 out of 3 of all jobs created across the country. And if you couple that with, if you juxtapose that, if you will, with Illinois, that in the Midwest is booming except Illinois. Every state in the Midwest has a 3% GDP growth. Illinois has a 1.8% GDP growth, despite Chicago being an exceptional city that's being screwed up by corrupt politicians and one political party. And you look at California, that should be the most prosperous, that should be the richest state in the country. And yes, you'll say it is the richest country. It also is the most populous country with the most amount of homeless people, with the most amount of people living in poverty, with crumbling schools. Let me finish, Sam. I know you got plenty of differences, but as long as if you want to talk about states, allow me to address the Kansas example. When Kansas, if you look at Kansas versus a state like Connecticut, Kansas had higher economic growth and was creating more jobs versus similar size, similar population blue states during the Brownback tax cuts. There were a lot of other contributing factors to why Kansas was not exactly a pristine example of how to run a state, such as government corruption, such as misallocation of resources, and other diminishing businesses that went to states like Texas that had a zero state income tax. And so if you want to talk about the contrast to states, it's the red states that are rated 9 out of 10 of the most pro-business states in America have Republican governors and Republican legislatures. The most pro-growth states in America are run by Republicans. I'm glad you mentioned it, though.
The reason why I bring up Kansas is because the dynamic is identical to the one that Donald Trump, this is what we're talking about, that Donald Trump and the Republicans did on a national level. Now, here's how the game works, and this is why it is zero-sum. Because you give these massive tax cuts to the wealthy, and you repatriate money from overseas that ends up going into shareholder buybacks, to stock buybacks. We know that 84% of stocks in this country are owned by the top 10%.
This is a great point. I want to.
And great. And 60% of those tax.
For more information about polycythemia vera, PV, visit takeactionpv.com.
Dollars that were repatriated went into the hands of those people. We saw no job growth as a function of that repatriation. We saw none of the trickle down that we're supposed to see. We see these tax cuts, and then Mitch McConnell brings down the hammer. We're going to cut Social Security. We're going to cut Medicare. These are the most popular, the most successful programs in the country, and the only way the Republicans can cut them is to create an economic crisis, and that is by giving money to wealthy people.
Okay, so let's talk about the stock buyback. So let's talk about the stock buyback. So you say 84%. What that doesn't contextualize, to use your word, is money managers that are controlling money for pension funds. So
that does include
no, it doesn't.
pension funds,
Sam, it does
401k.
not. Sam, it does not.
Look it
Goldman
up.
Sachs controls money for the California State Pension Fund. It's categorized as Goldman Sachs controlling that money, not as the pension fund. So when the stock market goes up, the teachers, the firefighters, the police officers, their 401ks go up, their pensions go up, and their net worth goes up. So when the stock market explodes, the net. Sam, I allowed you to finish.
You're lying.
Okay, so what's
Google it.
No. So when a money
Google it
manager,
now.
for example, when GCTR partners from Chicago, Sam, answer the question. When Goldman Sachs controls the California State Pension Fund, is it classified as the California State Pension Fund buying the securities or Goldman Sachs buying the securities? Goldman Sachs. So when you use, you know that's true.
84%. I will tell you what the number is.
Okay.
Google it.
Again, so
84%
your number
of
is
stocks
correct.
in this country.
However, to add context to it, Sam, is that the money manager is in the 1%, but the money they're managing is pension fund money that are people in the middle class. So what you're saying is not incorrect, but it's only half true because it is the middle class people's money that they're managing. With that being said, let's use an example. Zero evidence that repatriation created any jobs. I'll use a microcosm example. How about Foxconn that created 4,000 jobs in Wisconsin because they repatriated the money away from Chinese manufacturing jobs to American manufacturing jobs. 4,000 new jobs were created in Wisconsin because of the Trump tax cut that they directly attributed to a pro-business, pro-American mindset. That's 4,000 jobs in Wisconsin that otherwise did not exist under a Republican governor, Republican state legislature, and a president. Now, that's a microcosm example. You said there's zero evidence. That's a piece of evidence.
Well, look. People can look at the last time a Republican president repatriated that money. It was the American Jobs Creation Act, 2005. George Bush promoted this. He has come out and subsequently said that he got rolled because all those companies that wanted that to supposedly add jobs cut jobs. We know these money went to buybacks. We know why buybacks are illegal now because of the Republican Party changed that regulation in the 80s when it used to be called stock manipulation. And we know that it benefits the CEOs and the shareholders, and that 84%. And it includes the California pensions. It includes every municipal and state pension and 401k in the country. Thank you.
Hey, sir. So, but here's another thing I do want to talk about, because you talk about. Can you explain to me when someone gets richer, who exactly gets poorer? Can you explain how that process works? Like for example, when
I'll explain it to you.
So who gets?
So folks, you understand the idea of buying power, right? If I give you, ma'am, $10 and school costs $10, you buy a school. But if school goes up to $20, then you don't.
Yeah, Donald, you need to talk about that Jenk thing. You need to follow that motherfucker. Every move he makes and report on it. That would be fascinating, dude. Fascinating.
Don't have the same buying power. What drives the price of, let's say, housing, for instance? It is wealth inequality. And you see this in 10 cities across the country, the biggest metropolitan areas in the country. The middle class cannot afford to live there anymore because we have real estate going through the roof.
You're right. And so you have in states such as Illinois and Connecticut and California, because of excessive property taxes, people don't want to purchase some of those houses. So you have one of two problems that happen. Is that the middle class gets priced out. So the wealthy, if you will, the people that you are demonizing, will go up a bracket and they'll say, well, if I'm going to pay $35,000 a year in property taxes, I might as well buy this XYZ house. Therefore, the middle class person who's trying to sell their house with an excessive property tax burden has to property taxes are one of the main reasons.
I'm a homeowner. I know what taxes are, and
Right.
they're not nearly as much as if the price goes up.
Again, so in states like Illinois, property taxes can be anywhere between 6.5% to 9% for a state that doesn't work, for schools are completely and totally broken. So, but like the foreign investment thing. So I'm still trying to get back. Let me go back to the zero-sum game. When an entrepreneur renders a service and employs a bunch of people, and you buy that service, who is getting poorer in that transaction? Because you said zero-sum game. I'm trying to understand in a market
about
economy.
tax cuts.
No, you're right. So tax cut, where an average middle-class family had a $2,700 tax cut, where you have the corporate rate that went from 35% effective. I understand a lot of corporations did not pay that. They used loopholes, of which I disagree with completely. Went down to 20% effective in January. And they use that money to invest in capital infrastructure, or they repatriate
Stock
jobs.
buybacks.
So
they're using the money to buy
not exclusively. So stock buybacks. How about companies where the actual employees own the stock, and their own net worth goes up? Aren't they part of the middle class?
I am sure there are some members of the middle class.
For more information about polycythemia vera, PV, visit takeactionpv.com.
Who benefited from the tax cut.
That's what I'm saying, Sam.
The overwhelming thrust of the tax cuts goes into the wealthiest pockets via either stock buybacks or through capital gains or through having an S corp and paying less in taxes. So look, we could cherry pick things. You can say Illinois. I could say the worst 16. The lowest 15 states in the country in terms of education are all run by Republican governors, except for Louisiana, which had Bobby Jindal for 8 years, up until 2016. But cherry picking doesn't work. You wouldn't. There's a lot of things.
The
about
idea
your
of zero-sum game,
organization
though, the zero-sum game.
You wouldn't like me to cherry pick.
That's why I was trying to get to the philosophical difference, because I don't believe when someone gets rich, someone
Well,
inherently
you can
gets
talk
more poor.
philosophy, but we don't need to.
But
we have data.
Okay, but the data. Right. So the data. Fine, Sam. If you want to talk data.
And Charlie, I'm going to give you the last word on this.
Yeah, but I mean, so again, I was thinking maybe because again, you were just talking about cherry picking, and then you were cherry picking, and I was trying to talk about philosophy, which is I don't believe in a zero-sum game. I believe in a market economy when you trade, both parties equally get richer when you trade, and standard of living goes up, prices go down, and you have abundance. You have an abundance problem, not a scarcity problem in the West. But so just I'm trying to maybe I'm failing to understand how, because the left seems so adamantly opposed to the policies that have delivered us a 4.2% GDP rate, the lowest ever black unemployment rate, the lowest ever Asian American unemployment rate, the lowest Hispanic unemployment rate, the lowest veterans unemployment since 2001, a $2,700 average middle class tax cut, and the economy is so good Obama's trying to take credit for it. And so, but Sam, can you give some credence to the idea that when you lessen government burden, you couple that with a massive deregulation, the largest deregulation agenda in 100 years, are you willing to give an inch to say that maybe something Trump has done has benefited the well-being of people in the middle class?
All right. Well, you keep repeating the same thing, and I keep explaining.
And it doesn't make it less true, Sam.
Well, it makes it. I'm explaining to you why it's irrelevant. Because, yes, there has been a trajectory where we have seen all of the unemployment gains that you've talked about. We have seen stagnant wages. That is a fact. The buying power of the middle class has dropped. You talk about rolling back regulations. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about that. I'm glad.
I want you to name 3 regulations that have been rolled back that have helped the middle class. And I'll name 3 that have hurt the middle class.
How about rolling back Obama's war on coal?
Okay.
That has created hundreds of thousands of jobs throughout Appalachia and brought down utility costs in over 30 states.
What?
Yes. So this is a
people
big.
Laughing in the front. From
I smile and I'm happy when the people of West Virginia actually have jobs. Unlike what Hillary Clinton said, we're going to destroy all your jobs and we're going to find another way to give you meaning.
That's one.
And also, if you go through the EPA agenda, there was a specific regulation under the Obama era that categorized lakes and tributaries in the backyards of certain farmers as oil spills. That's number 2. And number.
I'm sorry. Wait. Walk us through this. By saying you can't dump.
Yes, Sam, being condescending about a fact does not make it any less true. So under the Obama era.
Well, wait a second. I'm just asking you, walk us through.
Yes, so.
How having farmers dump pesticides in tributaries.
Okay, that's not what I said. They classified lakes and tributaries in the backyards of certain farms as oil spills, which is a complete miscategorization and abuse of the Clean Water Act of 1976. So that was a abuse of power under what I like to call the Employment Prevention Agency.
And how many jobs do you
the Environmental Protection Agency
that were created by that?
Well, it definitely saved all these farmers hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal costs and the fact that they can still be operating. Would you like more regulation, Sam? How about
one more?
How about the thousands of consumer regulations that were finally rolled back under the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau so that we do not have to go through excessive amount of regulation to get small business loans? Happy to defend that any single day. I'm happy to defend the deregulatory agenda of Trump against the excessive regulatory agenda of Obama.
So
there's 3.
First off. All right, so first off, let's just start with this. Donald Trump has not rolled back that many regulations. That's the reality. The rate in which our regulations have grown has definitely been slowed. He's done about half of new regulations that Obama and Bush did up to this point. That is true. But let's talk first about the regulation that you mentioned in terms of the coal-fired power plants. This will cause 3,600 deaths, 90,000 cases of asthma, 1,700 heart attacks. The expenses associated with this are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The mercury and air toxins rollback will cause 11,000 deaths annually. The asbestos rollbacks will cost up to 40,000 annual deaths. The EPA, the Trump EPA, says that for every one regulation.
For more information about polycythemia vera, PV, visit takeactionpv.com.
$1 worth of regulation that costs an industry or whatnot, $14 of economic growth are generated. What's an example of that? Light bulbs. For years, conservatives were angry about light bulbs. I don't know if people here are old enough to remember this. But the idea that the U.S. government would require more efficient light bulbs was the loss of liberty to a scope that we can't even imagine. What has happened is consumers have saved tens of millions of dollars because they don't have to replace these incandescent light bulbs. We've seen in terms of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saved consumers $90 million worth of bank fees in the last year of the Obama administration alone. There has not been one There has not been one enforcement action since the Trump administration has taken over.
So what's the CFPB budget?
What is the budget? It is completely funded by fees that they get from the bank.
Okay, so forcibly take money away from the people that are depositor and then say that they're saving $90 million of fees on the back end.
That's not the way it works.
No,
when you deposit your money.
So the banks make money by people putting money in it, and then they borrow it out. So those are depositors. So you're taxing the depositors to then put on the back end of a government agency that is run in the CFPB should be completely abolished. It's an unconstitutional agency. And it's used as a weapon.
Bankers do not loan out their depositors' money exclusively. That's why you have capital controls. They loan out a lot
exclusively.
more.
That is one form and function of a bank.
But it goes back to you.
Well, obviously it goes back to, you know, most of the money in your bank's actually not in there, Sam? You know that,
Yes.
right? Okay, that's the way a bank works. So you have the FDIC that insures it up to a certain amount, but that money is probably somewhere else in the economy on loan or on lien to somewhere else to try to make the bank money. So when you're taxing the bank to try to fund the CFPB, you're actually taxing the depositors. You're taxing the money within the bank. The bank is comprised of the people that put the money in the bank.
No, you're taxing the profits they make off of their loans.
And they make so let's talk about banking. So first of all, they make money off of.
Let's stay with regulation.
Okay, Sam, they make money. They make money off of most of the money that banks used to make until Dodd-Frank was off lending to small businesses and local communities. But Dodd-Frank completely obliterated the idea of the local community bank. We have seen a sharp decline in community banks.
We have not seen a sharp decline in community banks unless you look over the past 30 years where we have seen a precipitous decline in those banks because of mergers and acquisitions.
Right. So we saw it. I will repeat myself because it's correct. Since the financial crisis, Dodd-Frank was a weapon used against small community banks that has hundreds of millions of dollars of regulation that put on small and local community banks. You know who loves Dodd-Frank? You know who's lobbying against the repeal of Dodd-Frank? Something that you and I can agree with. Goldman Sachs, which completely own the Treasury Department in both administrations, by the way, whether it be the Bush administration, the Obama administration, or the Trump administration. Goldman Sachs has an inside-out access to the Treasury Department. They are lobbying against a repeal of Dodd-Frank. Now, why would that possibly be? Because Dodd-Frank is used as a hedge against small and community banks to protect the Wells Fargos of the world, the J.P. Morgan Chases, and the Goldman Sachs. And so they use regulation as a competitive edge.
Will you join me in calling for a 21st century Glass-Steagall Act? We can deal with government. We can deal with government.
I would actually. I think we should get rid of the carried interest deduction. I think you and I could agree in that.
That's completely different from what I've just asked you.
Well, it's a component of what many people on here say. No, I will not join you in a 21st century Glass-Steagall Act. No.
Why?
All right, hold on, guys. We're about
If you want to cut down on the power of the big banks, why wouldn't you?
Well, okay, so you would.
I mean, if you're sincere,
why
wouldn't
walk
you
me
want
through? Walk
the
me
one
through how
way that would actually cut in to the size and the power of those banks?
Because it wouldn't do that. Because every single time you try to penalize the power of Wall Street, every single time you try to use government to go after the people that have the power, the exact opposite happens. You have an oligarchic class that is created around Washington, D.C., and the biggest companies get more powerful, and it totally pushes out competition.
You mentioned the financial crisis. The financial crisis
was a product
of the rollback of Glass-Steagall during the Clinton
incorrect. I'll let you do your case of why you think 2008 happened, and I'll tell you what really happened.
Well, it was not the cause of 2008 of the initial crisis. It was the cause of the severity of the crisis because we allowed commercial banks and investor banks to commingle. And they were too big to fail, and it almost pulled our entire financial system under. And so you return to a day which existed pre-96 where these banks cannot commingle. If one of them fails, it's a problem, but it's not one that is going to throw our entire economy into jeopardy. That is why the debt increased during Obama years, because the economy fell off a cliff. And so if you want
I'll check it out later,
diminish
Donald.
the power
Thanks.
of Goldman Sachs and of Citibank
Better not
and
be
Wells
dirty.
Fargo, and we can agree on this, let's call for a 21st century Glass-Steagall Act. We can do something bipartisan. This will be great. And we can
Hi, this is Christy Cronin from Orlando, Florida, and I've partnered with Court to share our story. We are finally out of potty training stages, and I feel like I can finally get my furniture back. We need something that's affordable and durable. Court's furniture is always high quality.
Can actually diminish the power of these banks.
So, I will say you'd actually find more acceptance of that argument in me than most people, because I think there is some merit to the argument that the repeal of Glass-Steagall did open up the reckless behavior of banks. However, I would say in talking about 2008, it was not the primary factor nor the secondary factor of why that financial crisis was created. It was first and foremost Fannie and Freddie, which is a government-sponsored institution that has yet to be held accountable, that has never showed their books to the taxpayers. AAA bond rating crap. AAA bond rating mortgages where people had FICO credit scores that were beyond F, that had median income around $35,000 a year, never actually visiting the houses that they were giving the mortgages to. It was B and B minus loans that they were looping together with AAA bond rating, and they were in bed with the rating agencies. So I think Sam and I would agree that there was widespread collusion. Fannie and Freddie is not Wall Street. It is a government institution that Congress sanctioned, yet to be held accountable.
Fannie and Freddie, you're right. I mean, it's a
government.
It's a quasi-government function, but it's enough. But Fannie and Freddie entered into that subprime market 4 years after all the major banks did. Believe me,
but Sam,
you were in high school at this time. I can assure you.
Sam, let me finish.
I paid attention to this. Now,
can I finish the point?
Well,
or are you
going
to continue to argue from authority?
The banks gave bad loans. We need more regulation so they uphold their fiduciary.
Okay, so let's. I want to finish the point on the financial crisis. You couple that.
I want to get to trade and tariffs after that.
The Community Reinvestment Act, which incentivized these banks to give loans to low-income communities. The Community Reinvestment Act, you can read the actual language of the bill, had quotas for banks over a certain level to give these loans out. You triple that with Alan Greenspan artificially lowering interest rates after 9/11. So you had cheap money flowing all around, and all of a sudden people said, oh, you can't question the housing market. It's as stable as can be. When you looked at the mortgages that Fannie and Freddie were AAA rating, a government agency, the banks were trading off the...
Fannie and Freddie did not do the ratings.
Sam,
the ratings were by three agencies that were not government agencies.
Sam,
Moody,
Fannie and Freddie, the banks were trading off the confidence that Fannie and Freddie gave them because they said, oh, if Fannie and Freddie is trading it, oh my goodness, we could trade it. So then Goldman Sachs never actually looked through the mortgages because first and foremost, they were incentivized to do it. They had the cheap money from the government, and finally they had the confidence and the conviction, which was all false, by a government agency to trade on these loans to destabilize our economy. Now, the bankers that lied, like the Wells Fargo's executives that lied, they should be in prison. You and I agree on that.
If there was a scrawl underneath here, it would be really embarrassing for you, because everyone who knows anything about banking knows that there were three rating agencies. Their names were not Fannie Mae and not Freddie Mac.
I never said they were a rating agency. They were trading them as AAA bond rated, and they were set these.
Who rated them?
They were rated by the three rating agencies.
Right. Are those agencies government agencies?
So what if Fannie and Freddie issue
yes or no?
JP Morgan?
Yes or no?
They are not government agencies.
That's right.
They're independently governed. Hold on. Who is supposed to regulate them? Sam, hold on a second. Who is supposed to regulate them? Did the SEC do their job in regulating them? No.
Part of Dodd-Frank.
I thought the SEC was supposed to keep us safe. It's the biggest government failure of the modern era. The SEC that has a $30 billion budget every single year did not even walk into these rating agencies and say, show me these mortgages. Show me the FICO scores. Show me how they're 18 months delinquent.
Part of Dodd-Frank. If you're arguing that regulators were not on the ball, you and I agree. There should be stricter regulation.
I'm arguing that's what happens when you continue to add these layers and layers of regulation, and then you blame capitalism for it. You're like, oh, you have all these regulators that used to work at Goldman, they used to work at Credit Suisse, they used to work at Wells Fargo, they go work for Fannie and Freddie, they go work for the regulators,
Right.
They say, oh, it's just a failure of capitalism despite government being one AAA bond rating.
I understand you. The failure of regulation to regulate the capitalists who gambled with money that was putting our entire economy in jeopardy. The failure of those regulators to do their job, the answer to that is to have no regulation and just let it be completely wild west.
So first of all, Dodd-Frank does the exact opposite of it, number one. Number two, the answer
Dodd-Frank tried to regulate
So first of all, you know what the
those
solution
three
is?
agencies.
Sam, I'm so glad you asked. You want to know what the solution is? The solution is we should have let the banks fail and make them pay a price for gambling with our money. That's the solution. Because they won't do it again, Sam. If you bail them out and you give the Wall Street executives huge bonuses, and the Wells Fargo executives should be in prison. You and I agree with that.
Yes.
They gambled with our money.
Yes.
But you don't have recourse. You don't have punishment. They're going to do it again.
Yes, I agree. If you don't punish them, they'll do it again. Or if you let them have the regulatory space to do it again, they'll do it again.
No, so that's where you and I disagree. It wasn't the regulatory space. It was Fannie and Freddie that paved the way. They were the ones they were the number one distributor of these falsely labeled AAA bonds. They never actually saw the mortgages they were trading. Fannie and Freddie to this day, they've never opened their books.
Okay.
We fund them, and they have never opened their books.
We do not. Listen, the bottom line is the reason why we had such a severe crisis was because of the relationship between the commercial banks and the investment banks. Fannie and Freddie bought those mortgages from those banks 4 years after the run started. I agree with you that you have some of the elements correct. You don't understand the role of Fannie and Freddie in that crisis, but it's largely irrelevant to the point I'm making, which is the crisis was as severe as it was because we rescinded Glass-Steagall under a Democratic president and a Republican Congress. We could go back and we could, today, we could reinstitute it and save the banks. A guy like Steve Mnuchin, I agree with you. He should be in jail. He did this stuff.
I'm not going to talk to Steve personally, but I think where we could agree, where Sam and I agree, is there's something fundamentally wrong that somehow a prerequisite to run the Treasury Department is working at Goldman Sachs. There's something wrong with that. And that is cronyism, not capitalism. Now, Sam will say, well, that's what happens when you allow capitalism. I would completely and totally.
Well, when you have corporations gain so much money and power, they're too big, and we need to make them smaller.
I had 4 seconds of an agreement moment, so I want you all to remember.
How does the market make these entities that have too much power smaller?
Competition. Because you know why?
Who's keeping someone from competing with Amazon? Who's keeping someone from competing with Google?
Oh, okay, so I'm glad you asked.
Who's keeping someone?
Nobody. But you know who's keeping them from? You know who's trying to compete? Who's preventing them from keeping to prevent against Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan? The Dodd-Frank bill, because it has so much regulation and such cumbersome rules. It disallows the local community bank from ever competing against them.
The local community bank is going to compete against Goldman Sachs.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm so glad
They've all been bought.
That's a great question. Where did these banks start from, them, Sam? Where did Wells Fargo start? It started as a local community bank that eventually did a very good job of running their balance sheets, and then they became one of the Wall Street banks. It's not unheard of that.
When there was no Dodd-Frank.
Exactly right. It was before Dodd-Frank, Sam.
Right. And they were not allowed to merge until that 96.
No, again, I think there is some merit to your Glass-Steagall argument. I do not think that is the primary factor why 2008 happened, nor would I say that reinstating Glass-Steagall will have competition back on Wall Street. We will get competition back on Wall Street when we decentralize the SEC, when we decentralize the FDIC, we make it easier for people to give out loans and have FDIC deposit insurance backing. That is so hard to do right now because Goldman Sachs doesn't want that competition. It's very simple. When you have someone from Goldman Sachs running the Treasury Department that will probably work for Goldman Sachs after, and they worked for them before, they're going to try to protect Goldman Sachs' interests. What does that look like? Create rules and regulation that make it very hard for other banks to compete with Goldman Sachs. You and I agree with that.
We agree that the middle class is suffering for Trump's continuing to allow Goldman Sachs in there. Maybe we should both vote for Bernie Sanders.
Well, so
Elizabeth Warren.
And again, it's important to remember it's not just a Republican or Democrat thing. Both parties allow Goldman Sachs to run the Treasury Department. But let me say this:
Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders definitively would.
Well, she might 1,024th allow it to be run, but 1,024th the Treasury Department might be run by someone from Goldman.
So while we still have a little bit of time, I want to make sure we talk about trade and tariffs. I suspect there might be some agreement, some disagreement here. I'll start with Charlie. Give us your take on Trump's trade policy, his tariffs that have had a big impact, particularly in the Midwest. Do you agree with it? Disagree? Tell us your take.
I have a more nuanced opinion on it. I think what he's doing with China is terrific. I think China has been an unfair actor on the world stage for far too long. They still are categorized as a developing nation in the World Trade Organization, which allows them access to subsidies. They build a coal-fired power plant every single month, which as soon as they exit as a developing nation, under that certification, it would be much more difficult to do that. Sam and I might actually agree on that. And look, China steals our IP.
I've heard working for Bank of America is pretty terrible.
You have to essentially form a partnership with the government. They'll copy your good or service,
told
and then
you
they'll sell it
that.
back into the market that you're competing in probably quicker than it will take for you to manufacture back in that country. Generally, I'm a free trade guy, and if the goal is to get to low tariffs with some of these countries, I'm all for it. But with China, I consider them to be the great existential threat of the West and of America, and I totally and completely.
Ooh. All right, cut off. He cut off. Oh. All right. We don't have much else to listen to. I think we're gonna end the stream here, guys. It's already like 12 o'clock. Pretty much wrapped up the commission. Just have like a final few things to do. Maybe stream tomorrow. I'm not too sure. But we'll definitely be back on Monday. So hope you guys have a good night. I'll check out that video, Donald. Hopefully it's not lewd, but I will check it out. Have a good morning, Murdoch, and just have a good night, day, guys. I'll see you Monday. If not tomorrow, peace out. But probably Monday. Peace.